Welcome back to the shop. I have here a 2022 KX112. Going to be doing a set of clutches on it. Now this is going to be pretty much the same steps for the KX80, KX85, KX100, and KX112 from, I don't know, maybe early 90s, late 80s, all the way up to the new 2024 and probably way into the future. I have a set of Henson clutches we're going to be putting this one, but again, it's going to be the same steps no matter what brand clutches you decide to go with. So yeah, I already have the motor oil drain. That's the first step. I already have that done. Did that off camera. So let's dig into her. I know I'm going to need this brake lever out of my way. Now I can unbolt it and completely get it out of my way. But instead I'm just going to come back here to the brake pads and just kind of... Whoa, these pads are pretty worn out. I'm just going to kind of try to compress that piston in there and the brake a little bit. That's going to allow us to press the brake lever down really low when it's time to get that clutch cover off. There we go. But if you do it this route, make sure you pump that brake before you send this bike back out. Otherwise, the rider might have to pump it a few times as he's rushing into a hot corner, and that's not going to be cool. I'll remind you later in the video as well when we go to do that. But you'll see when I compress the brake lever. Now watch this. Look how low I'm able to get it. Completely low enough to expose the whole clutch cover. Now you only can do that a few times and you'll have to go back there and press the piston back in the caliper, but no big deal. Okay, let me go ahead and remove all the tension on this as much as I can. Just try to loosen the cable up as much as I can right here at the lever. It's going to make it a little easier down below. And Beavis is out there making a bunch of noise. Maybe he'll come visit us mid-shop. Anyway, I'm going to use a crescent wrench here. I'm just going to slide it right over that lever right there, compress it, pull this boot down, and then slide this right on out of there. There we go. And then pop the cable right out of there. So we got that out of our way. This is free and ready to move around. Okay, let me take these bolts out. That thing seems like it's on high speed or something. It's not. It's on setting number 1. This is some really nice hardware. I don't know if these are aluminum or titanium, but boy, they're lightweight. Alright, usually what I do is I just press this in like this. And oftentimes that'll... Oh no, the other way. That's right. Spin it that way and I'll pop the cover loose for you. Now, here's where we push the brake lever down to get the cover off. There we go. Let me go ahead and remove this gasket. Alright. Clean this up just a little bit. I have some dirt on the edge here. I don't want that falling in. Let me clean that up before we get started. Now, as I say in all my videos, you'll see me use an impact a lot during the teardown, but during reassembly, I'm real cautious where I use an impact because you can strip stuff out in a hurry. But if you don't have an impact, you can just use a standard ratchet on these. You might have to hold the clutch with your hand or whatever. No big deal. They're not on that tight. Alright, I'm going to grab this little nub right here. Come on out of there. Oh, wow, it's bringing all the clutches with it. That's fine. But usually, just so I'll show you, usually it comes out. Let me pop these back in, just so I can show you for video's sake. You don't want to lose that, obviously. And there's a little washer on the end of it right there. You can see. So we'll keep that together. Yo! Alright, got clutch plates coming out here. Let me go ahead and grab all these. You'll notice there's one fiber, one steel, but I'll show you all that when we go to reassemble it. Get that last one out. Let me grab a nice little pick here. Anything will work. I'm just going to use this. Come on now. There we go. Make sure we got them all. Yes, we do. There's nothing left in there except a clutch basket and a center hub. Okay, well, I have all the clutch plates out. It's a good time to check the basket for wear. The clutch plates like to dig into the basket right here. You can see them little marks each clutch plate has left. This seems acceptable. I mean, I can see where they've been making contact. It might have dug in the basket ever so slightly, but not anything critical. This is going to be okay to reuse. But if If these are cut in really deep where there's literally ridges in between each clutch plate, then you're going to want to replace the basket, because them ridges are going to snag on the clutch plates, and when you let your clutch out, they're not going to be able to cinch in as tightly because they'll get caught up on the ridges and your clutches will slip. But these are looking pretty good, so we're going to be okay right here. Now I know, you know, you can file these down nice and smooth and get rid of the ridges, and that will get you by if you need to. However, once you have ridges and once you file them down, or just ridges, or just file them down, or both, it causes a lot of left and right, a lot of lash, a lot of rattle. You'll hear the clutch chatter and stuff. So it's just better to put a new basket in if yours is worn out. But this one's looking pretty good, so we're just going to run it. Another thing you want to check too is the inner hub. Now these are starting to get some grooves in it right here. You can see they're yeah, this is about due. I'm going to let the owner know. I'm going to go ahead and put the clutches in right now because I know he has a race this weekend and he just needs to be out there and race. But I am going to inform him that inner hub, you can see where the steel plates have been chewing right into this, and it's starting to develop some ridges. So I'm going to say that's pretty much due. I mean, it'll get him through the weekend. He's got a race this weekend, and that's just how that goes sometimes. But if we had more time, I'd order that up right now and complete this job with a new one of them. But we don't have time for that, so we're just going to have to reuse it. But them are the things you want to look for. Ridges right here and ridges right there. Then on the pressure plate right here, these can also get worn in right here. They can get dug in, so you just want to check this. This one's looking really good, so we're going to be okay using this one. And these are pretty cheap too. It is a wear item. If it's worn out, just replace it. They're not expensive. Alright, back on the bench here. Let's just take a look at these clutch plates, see what they look like. Well, they're definitely pretty dark. Yeah. And they're not totally gone, but they're just nice and dark. Now on these steel plates, they have a rounded end and a sharper end, the way they stamp them. So keep that in mind when we go to install these. See, there's a rounder end right there, and there's a sharper end. We go to install these, we want the rounder end face towards the motor. But we'll worry about that when it's time to install it. Alright, let me go ahead and check out this kit here, make sure we got everything in it. Open it up. See what we got. Oh, we got some decals. All right. Got instructions. Some heavy-duty clutch springs. Some decals. Okay, and instructions. Now, one tip is typically your OEM springs are going to be a softer spring than your aftermarket springs that come in clutch kits. You'll often hear clutch kits bragging about having 10% stiffer spring than stock for a more holding capacity, and they will hold more power. But you know, stock springs usually do just fine as long as they're not too aged. Now, the issue with putting the heavy-duty springs in is now you have to squeeze them springs in every time you pull on your clutch lever, and it makes a stiffer clutch lever. So if you don't want a stiffer clutch lever and your clutches have been holding up fine with the stock springs, either just reuse your stock springs with your aftermarket clutch kit, or buy some new stock springs. That's what I suggest, just new stock springs, because a stock spring, a new one, will have a little more tension than an old worn out one. And do it that way. That way you have a stock lever pull, a stock pull at the lever, versus when you put these heavy duty springs in, it can give you a pretty heavy pull at the clutch lever. But for him, we're putting these heavy duty springs in. If he believes they're too heavy later on, when we do the center hub, when we replace that, we can put the stock springs back in. But we're going to start with this for him. Alright, let's pull these out. Take a look at these steel plates. So that's your smoother round end right there, and that's your sharper end. Again, when they stamp them, there's always a smoother side and a sharper side. So the smoother side goes face towards the motor. That'll allow for a smoother engagement when you're letting the clutch out. To soak the plates or not to soak the plates, that's always the question. Some people like to soak them overnight, some people just wet them. And I was at a supercross race, and I watched one of the professional mechanics put the plates in bone dry. So I thought, well, I'd try that. Throughout the years, I've tried it dry, wet, everything, and I found it really just doesn't make a difference. Honestly, you get the same amount of life. You can put them bone dry in the bike, and it's going to feel great right from get go, and it's going to last a long life. It really doesn't matter. But for good measure, I just wet them with the oil. That's it. I don't bother soaking with them or anything. I just wet them and put them in. So let's go put them in. All right, down here on the floor, I have some Shell Rotella motor oil. I have the new clutch plates right there, so let's go ahead and install them. You start with the fiber plate. So let me go ahead and dip this in the motor oil and pop it in. And it will leave a mess. So make sure you start with the fiber, then you go to the steel. So make sure you have something to catch the oil on the floor if you're doing this in a clean location. All right, looking for the sharp side and the softer side. Okay. The rounded side goes towards the motor, sharp side towards you. And then back to a fiber. So it's one fiber, one steel, one fiber, one steel, all the way to the end. And honestly, it does make a cleaner job when you put them in dry. And maybe that's why that pro mechanic during that Supercross race put them in dry, because it doesn't drop oil all over the floor as you're doing this. But you know. Okay, the rounder end towards the motor. And the next fiber. And next steel with the round end towards the motor. Alright. Almost there. It's a pretty easy job, honestly. This is not a difficult job. Most people should be able to do this pretty quick and easily. There we go. And the last fiber plate. Here we go. Come on. There we go. Alright, that's in there. Okay, pressure plate time. Again, make sure you have that little doohickey in there with the washer on there. There we go. Put the 4 springs in. There we go. And then the 4 bolts that hold the springs down. I'm going to use my cordless drill here with the drag set just to seat them down for me. Then I'll tighten them by hand. You don't want to put these real tight. They are kind of easy to break off the tabs. So. Alright, I'm going to grab a ratchet and I will tighten these by hand. Again, you don't need it real tight. You don't have to use any thread locker. Just kind of hold the basket with your hand. There we go. Alright. And that's really all you have to do. If you're having a hard time holding the basket with your hand, you can actually set a flathead like right here up against one of them, and that'll keep it from spinning, and then you can tighten it by hand. But yeah, that's just a little cheater way if you're having a hard time holding the basket by hand. There we go. Okay, on the cover you have this lever right here that makes contact and latches onto this rod, and that's what actuates the clutch. So we got to hook that on there when we put it on there. I don't have the gasket on here yet, but I'll show you what I mean. See, it's not hooked right there, it's just spinning. There we go. You'll know when you have it right because you'll feel it hook on there. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the gasket and let's do it. What I'm going to do is put a dab of grease right here and right there. And that's going to hopefully help hold it on there for me. Seems to be. Okay. Don't make the mistake I made the first time. Put it all in the hole, because you can pull that sucker right on out of there. Okay, let's do it again. I'm going to have the lever about this position right here. You can see, so I'll have the lever at about that position, so once I push the cover on and kind of hook it onto that. Let's try it. Okay, here we go. Let's hook it. It is hooked. We are good. Check it out. Alright, let's go ahead and put the bolts back in. Pop all these suckers back in their place. And I'll tighten them by hand after this seats them down for me. Alright. Tighten them by hand now. Then all we have to do is readjust the clutch lever, the clutch cable, put some oil in it, and fire her up and test her out. This 112 sounds so nice. Move his. Alright, get that thing off there so I can fill her up with oil. Using nothing but the best here, Shell Rotella. If you own this bike, you know there's a little window over here. You can check the oil level. So we're going to fill it up just somewhere in the middle of that window's good. I'm over here watching the window, just see when we get there. It says right here it takes 700 milliliters or 700 cc's. So, oh, there we go. Alright. Go ahead and cap that back off. I almost forgot to connect the clutch cable back up. Oops. No big deal. We can do that right now. Let's see here. First thing I'm going to do is hook it back up to the lever. Come on. There we go. Okay, got it connected to the lever. Now I'm going to put the crescent wrench back right here and hook it up here. Then we have to adjust it up at the clutch lever again, but let me go ahead and put this boot back on there first. There we go. Okay, time to adjust it back out. You're going to want to keep track of this adjustment as these clutch plates break in. Obviously, you always want a little bit of play in the clutch cable, otherwise the motor thinks you're slightly pulling in the clutch the whole time, and that'll burn them up real quick. So you set it up where there's a little bit of play. So let's see here. Go a little tighter. We'll set up a hair bit looser than that, just because these are new clutch plates. They're going to break in, and this adjustment's going to change as soon as they break in. As the clutch plates break in, the pack becomes more narrow as it breaks in. It's going to take up some of this slack, so you want to leave a little more slack than normal for the first ride just to be safe, and then come back in and check it. And if you got to make any changes, adjustments, and do that. Okay, let's start her up, and I'll hold the rear brake. Actually, I told you I'd remind you, let's pump that rear brake. There we go. Okay, I'll start it up. I'll hold the rear brake and put it in gear so the back tire doesn't spin. Let the brake out, let the clutch out. Just feel how the clutch feels. Feels great. That's pretty much it for this job. My mess here. Alright, new clutches are in. She's feeling good. She's going to be good to race this weekend. I appreciate you guys watching this. If you like this kind of stuff, you know what to do. Click subscribe. This coming up weekend, I'll be riding Dade City Motocross on Sunday, the extended track. I'll probably take out the YZ250 for that one and not the 125. So I need to go get that bike ready. But yeah, I hope to see you guys out there. And if not out there, I hope you guys have a great weekend of riding wherever you're at. Hope you have a great evening. Catch you in the next video.